Hi, welcome to the channel Coder's Arc, where we unravel the world of coding and architecture together. And today, I'm going to talk about 6 simple LLM strategies for your organization. Now, most of my videos are fairly technical and hands-on tutorials. This one is slightly different. It's more of a strategy topic where I will be talking about 6 simple LLM strategies. Now, as architects, most of us are tasked with shaping the LLM strategy, the AI ML strategy for your organization. And hopefully through this video, it will give you a good frame of reference on how to think about those topics. I will be explaining how you can onboard your organization if you're still in the early stages, all the way up to if you're a really mature organization. So let's dive right into it. So let's begin the LLM journey for your organization. If you're a fairly technical organization that either develops products or services, the first thing you need to ensure for your organization of technical folks is that they have some sort of Copilot integrated into their IDE. So that usually means if you have VS Code, IntelliJ, Visual Studio, notebooks, whatever it is, just make sure that there is some sort of Copilot integration enabled within the organization. I personally prefer the agentic mode with the capability to choose whatever LLM I want, and at the same time do the ask mode so that it makes changes with me. And usually it's a really good way for the Copilot to work hand in hand with the human to get their feedback, adjust the code, and then you can also engineer the prompts for the organization in such a way that everybody is developing with uniform set of security standards, uniform set of coding guidelines, and is able to produce the code. I can go more detail into this one into a next video, but mostly this is just a strategy discussion where that's the first thing you need to enable for your organization. So the next step in your LLM journey is prompt engineering. So usually it's the very basic, very first step that if you're creating a Gen AI LLM based solution, you must know how to do proper prompt engineering. Now it's very basic, but usually over a period of time you realize that developing good, specific, clear prompts with clear instructions and possibly some good examples serve as very important context to the LLM when it's generating an output, because an LLM will always generate an output. If you give it something, it will always give you something back, and that's where subjectivity comes into picture. Now over a period of time, your engineers will learn the skill of creating very good specific prompts with very clear instructions, and that in itself is an engineering exercise called prompt engineering that teams get better over time. And usually you should develop some frameworks within your organization on which they can measure the subjective outcomes of the LLM. Maybe run it through some industry standard experts or some domain professional subject matter experts who can vet out the output that is being generated by LLM through these prompts. So the next step of your LLM journey is the ability to convert the data that you have within your organization into vectors. I have talked about vectors and different vectorization techniques in my previous videos, so feel free to go back and watch those. But essentially this is a very important topic, because how you create an index and what your indexing strategy is for the vectors is extremely important. If you choose indexes that are too broad, chances are you're gonna get hallucinated results, and if you choose indexes that are too narrow, the chunks that are retrieved may not give you all of the information. So that's why choosing the right balance of an index strategy along with how to associate metadata to the indexes is extremely critical. But this is where when you're supplying a prompt to the LLM, you need to give it some good historical examples. Now you pull those good historical examples by making a semantic query into the vector database, getting the semantically similar records and passing them as text context to the LLM so that you can get some meaningful outcome. So that's the next evolution in your LLM journey. So the next evolution in your LLM journey, after you have carefully vectorized your records is the RAG architecture. Essentially, I have covered RAG in great detail in the past, and I have created some videos in AWS as well as Salesforce that cover the RAG architecture. RAG essentially stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and the concept is that before you make a call to the LLM and ask a specific question pertinent to your records, you need to convert the question into vectors. Vectors are nothing but numbers in multiple dimensions. Now this vector, the question vector, is searched against the vector database for semantically similar records. And now once you fetch those records and the question, that is converted into the text that is sent over as the context to the LLM so that it can give you the results back. Hopefully that made sense, but if not, feel free to go watch my previous videos. But essentially, RAG is the next evolution in your LLM journey. So now, the next evolution after the RAG architecture in your LLM journey is the agentic systems. RAG is very powerful. It is able to give you a lot of capabilities to ask questions using the natural language processing and semantic similarity to the LLM, so you can get some meaningful response back. But now if you need to do some really complex tasks that require some level of autonomy, maybe some level of human feedback, and these are complex tasks based on the automations that already exists within the system, the APIs that have already been constructed, and there is no clear path to go from point A to point B. So when you want to automate such complex tasks which require human intervention along with some autonomous decision making, the ability to improve over a period of time, as well as get the most relevant response to your expectation, use agentic systems. I have also covered agentic systems in a lot of detail in my previous videos, where I have implemented the agentic systems in Bedrock and Salesforce, and I've even done in GCP. So you can go watch all of those videos. But essentially, point is that agents also rely on LLMs under the hood. Agents are nothing but an orchestration layer on top of LLM that you engineer and give the tools and their descriptions so that the LLM can think through the reasoning and acting framework on those tools and their descriptions to give you a meaningful outcome. So that's where agents are really powerful. That's the natural evolution for most mature organizations that already have a lot of automations within their system, and now they're looking at effectively and efficiently managing their resources. Things where agents can be very useful is things like call center, where usually a call comes in and the nature of each call is very subjective. Some calls require you to go through some documentation, some records, some history of a person, make some subjective decisions on the outcomes. So that's where agents are going to be really powerful. But again, agents can be deployed to any domain, and please feel free to watch my video so you understand how agents work under the hood. And now finally, beyond the agentic systems, for more complex, mature organizations, there is a concept of federated learning, where let's say you have a multi-tenant system where each customer has their own data. Now you can have an LLM that is fine-tuned per customer, but essentially that's only going to work within that customer's data. But as an organization, as a SaaS provider, if you are tasked with creating an industry standard golden model that can give the best outcomes from all the customers while maintaining the privacy of the data from the different customers, how do you achieve that? You cannot just take all of the data from all of the customers, merge it with each other, and then train the LLM, fine-tune the LLM on that. Essentially, you can do that, but it's going to lead to a lot of lawsuits. So to avoid that, there is a concept of federated learning, where there is a model that's a base model. You can take a Llama model, a Mistral model, essentially, and then you deploy that model on every single customer site, or if you're a SaaS provider, it can be hosted on the cloud within the different tenants of the different customers. Now each customer uses that model and fine-tunes that model based on their data, but essentially now the weights and the gradients are sent back to the main model, and it learns and adjusts its weights and parameters based on the information that is being fed from these different models that are hosted per customer. So essentially now you're gonna have a golden industry specific model. Where this could be very useful is things like banking applications. Obviously banking data is extremely sensitive, or life sciences manufacturers where the way the drugs are manufactured, that's a really important private intellectual property that customers would not want to share with each other. But then there are some processes that each customer can learn from each other without explicitly sharing their important proprietary information. So that's where federated learning is extremely important. Again, this is for extremely mature, complex technical organizations that have already gone through the different phases that I've described, and they are ready to take on the challenge of creating an industry specific model. Again, in the organizations that are creating federated learning based fine-tuned models, they are, in my opinion, going to lead the race in the future, because in the game of SaaS provider, everybody is providing an AI based solution, everybody is an AI expert, but how do you prove that you have worked through enough vendors to create your own fine-tuned model? And that's where federated learning is going to be extremely important. So with that said, I have covered all of the different ways your organization can go from simple IDE integration all the way to federated learning. Now, of course, your organization can be more mature and build their own LLM, but this is for companies that are creating services, solutions, and products that need to embark on an LLM journey. And this is mostly for architects on how they can work with the CTOs, the chief information officers, the chief AI officers to create their own LLM strategy. And in my opinion, this is the most organic journey that an organization can take to embed LLMs into their strategy. So with that said, if you found the value in this content useful, please hit the subscribe button. Please like the video, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.